Hello and welcome to Movie Trailer Trash. We just watched the trailer for Arrival, a movie where Amy Adams teaches aliens the alphabet.
Now that's an introduction.
That's right, baby. It's time for Movie Trailer Trash. Enjoy.
All right, as Charlie mentioned, this is Movie Trailer Trash. We just watched the trailer for Arrival. I'm Bethany.
And I'm Charlie.
And Amy Adams in that trailer, that's what she says when she places her hand on some sort of screen and the aliens place their weird alien hand on the screen.
Wow, racist.
Oh, whatever. And she says, now that's an introduction. So that's me being Amy Adams.
So there you go. There's your explanation.
I'm not very good at imitating people, so sorry about that.
Hey, that had potential to be your best one yet, though. I will say that.
Well, it's easier to imitate an American accent that's just like a soft feminine
it's easier
voice.
to imitate someone who sounds very similar to me.
Just a little bit more feminine.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, we just watched Arrival. The new movie from the director of Sicario.
Yes.
One of our favorite movies from the past few years.
This past year, right?
Well, but just in general.
Well, yeah.
For me, anyway.
And what else did it say? It said Sicario?
Prisoners.
Oh,
Have you ever seen Prisoners?
Is that the one with Hugh
Jake
Jackman?
Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman.
I haven't seen that, but I actually really wanted to. But it
Well,
also
it's
looks
got
like
really
it would
good-
scare the crap out of me.
It's got really good reviews. And this person also directed the movie Enemy, which is also a Jake Gyllenhaal movie that I never saw, but I wanted to see it really bad just based on the description, which was Jake Gyllenhaal's character goes to seek out someone that looks exactly like him because he saw him as an extra in a movie somewhere. And so
that's kind of awesome.
And so then this mystery stuff happens, and that's all you know about it. And I wanted to see it based off of that.
That's kind of awesome. And if it's set in modern day, he has a lot of opportunity to do that. It just reminds me real fast of a little tangent.
Oh boy.
When I was younger, my friends and I were obsessed with this movie, Count Dracula, Dead and Loving It. Okay, yeah. We're going on a deep tangent here. This has nothing to do with Arrival.
This will be 15 minutes of backstory.
No. Anyway, there's one scene in it. I mean, we must have watched this movie 1,000 times. And at one part, my friend Sarah and I were watching it, and they dance. There's like this whole dance sequence with the two main characters.
And we dance.
And there's a girl. They pull out a mirror, and you can't see his reflection, and everybody gasps. And there's this girl who gasps that looks like an adult version of our good friend Bonita. So seriously, we got her, we were like, come here. We had her come over to our house just to watch that scene. We were like, that would be what you look like when you're like whatever age she is now, like 27, 26. So if the internet was like it is today, and if we were older, we would have totally tried to find that girl, because it was
good
uncanny.
Thing you didn't. Maybe there would have been some sort of murderous intrigue that would have happened.
That's true, but I will say this, it was uncanny.
Well,
it was uncanny.
For all of you out there who knows Bethany's friend, I'm sure that story interested you a whole bunch.
Well, people understand, though. I'm just saying that I can relate. All right?
Yes.
Okay,
what
back
were we
to
talking
normal.
about? The movie. Right.
Arrival.
So this movie, directed by the same guy who directed Sicario. Sicario is amazing.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies in recent memory, just in general. And there's a distinct similarity between how both of those movies are shot. So this movie, Arrival, and Sicario, it's got this really makes it feel real. Like you can tell that there's no added grittiness like you see in a lot of DC movies and stuff like that, where they put the brown filter over everything, but it's not shiny either.
It also
like a lot
doesn't
of other
really
movies.
look like special effect-y.
Right.
Even though clearly there are special effects.
It's a floating rock spaceship, and it looks real. It exists.
You could believe it a little bit.
Yeah,
it's okay.
really
Okay, let's compare it to War of Worlds.
War of the Worlds?
Yeah.
The Tom Cruise
I thought it was
movie?
just called War of Worlds. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, the Tom Cruise movie, where those things are floating in the air. I actually loved that movie. But this is similar, I think, because those things are all in the air and they're coming down to Earth. And I think this is even better. That movie is more shiny. There's a shininess to it.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the Steven Spielberg thing, which
yes.
obviously everyone loves. I love.
Of course.
Not saying it's bad. It's just different to see a movie like this given
Especially
that
sci-fi.
real edge to it. It's kind of like how Interstellar was. You know,
You think Interstellar was like this?
when like everything in Interstellar, even though
You
outrageous,
felt like it was real life.
looked
Yeah.
real, looked like it was
That's
actually
true.
happening.
Okay, and that
Except
has
for
to
that
do-
last 10
I think
minutes.
that has a lot to do with cinematography, though. Also.
Yeah,
And,
that's
and like
directed.
CGI getting better. But okay, there's something I was talking to some of my friends about, the movies that this reminds me of.
Okay.
A friend sent me the trailer and I said, it looks like kind of a cross between District 9 and Stargate the movie with James Spader and Kurt Russell.
Okay.
I wanted to be specific because not the show. And for me, I'm excited because I love the movie Stargate.
It's a little silly.
No, the only reason you're saying that is because it was made in like the 80s.
Right, and I
It's an
didn't
80s
see it
movie.
until I was 20 years old.
Exactly. But it was good. You can agree it was good.
Yeah, it was good.
It was a good story. James Spader was great in it.
Well, I love James Spader.
Kurt Russell was great in it. But that was like so un-James Spader. I mean, that was him when he was a young pretty boy, but
Yeah, he wasn't doing all the weird.
he was
like,
playing a nerd and it was
spaces in
great.
his
But he was really
speech.
good as a nerd.
Yeah.
But no, the reason it reminds me of Stargate is because the main character, Amy Adams,
Is a nerd.
is a nerd, and she is supposed to be the top language specialist. Like, we need you to translate Alien for us. And it's like, what? How do I translate something that we have
And-
no reference to?
And I
and that's
hope
exactly what happened in Stargate.
I hope that how the trailer made it look is that 70% of this movie is her trying to figure out how to communicate with these aliens.
Perhaps. I don't know if it'll be that much.
Maybe not
And I
that
think
much,
that would
but
be
I
boring.
hope that I hope the majority is that where they like she writes human and then they write whatever their alphabet is up on the screen that's in front of them.
I think it's going to be more about like she'll figure it out, but then it'll be how do we communicate? Because like, okay, there's one point in the trailer where she says we need to make sure that they understand the difference between a weapon and a tool because language is difficult and sometimes those things can get confused.
because
So I think it's going to be more about the like little tiny detail. Like I can kind of communicate. It's like if I could communicate with someone in Spanish, I could, but I definitely wouldn't want to have to communicate between them trying to stop a war.
between two generals.
If I had to speak in Spanish to a general and try and prevent a war, because that's what it looks like. They're saying there's 12 of them around the world. People are up in arms. There's going to be a war if we don't figure out why they're here.
The thing that looks cool about this movie is that they're focusing on that, and I want them to focus on that instead of it just turning into an alien invasion movie.
I want the reason they're there to be interesting.
But I want the movie to be about Amy Adams' character. I don't want it to be about
Yes,
the alien
and that's
invasion.
fine. I was gonna say, just to explain District 9, the reason I think it feels like that is just because like we were talking about the realness of it and the aliens being down, like their ships being on our planet, and just kind of having this giant presence there. I thought that was interesting. And District 9 is also an awesome movie. So I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I'm comparing it to two of the best sci-fi movies I know. I love both of those movies and it looks really interesting.
But like, so what I was saying about, I want it to be about Amy Adams' character.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this guy did extremely well with Sicario. It was clearly about Emily Blunt the whole time, even though all of this really high stakes stuff is happening around her the entire movie.
What was actually happening was so much bigger than Emily Blunt,
Right.
her character, but it was all from her perspective.
Yeah.
Like the big picture stuff, you could only see through her eyes,
So-
so you only got pieces of it. It was actually pretty
I don't know
genius.
if that will happen. Because it's obvious it's not the same writer as the person who wrote
Yeah.
Sicario, but this director is very good at doing that.
Do you know who wrote it?
Yes, the
Did
guy
they-
that wrote it is the same person who wrote the most recent thing he's done is Lights Out, which is a horror movie. Have you seen the commercials for that? They're kind of like people they are viral. They like went around a whole bunch because it was the thing where the girl turns off the lights and the woman shows up in the doorway and then she turns them back on
Oh.
and she's gone. And
Yeah.
then she turns them off, she's closer.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So that movie apparently
scary.
is really good. And like when I saw the commercials for it, I thought it was just going to be, jump scare
Yeah.
horror movie type thing, but it has a 77%
Wow,
on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's really good.
It's really good for a horror movie.
Horror movie, yeah.
And then he's written a few
Or
other
any
things
movie, really.
that were just kind of like horror movie remakes.
Interesting.
So,
So that's weird. Do you think this is going to have like a weird, scary aspect? Because they don't make it look super scary.
no, I mean, I think
It looks more like a Independence Day as far as fear level, like more of like a war type.
But I have a feeling that they'll focus more on the scarier aspects of it. So like in Independence Day and in other
like
alien
action-y.
invasion
That's
movies,
what I was thinking, like action-y.
they focus on the action and the heroics, where on this they'll probably focus on how terrified everybody is of the unknowing of what they're happening. Like Amy Adams is like the only person that even kind of knows what's going on.
I think it's interesting. I think that the scary parts will probably be like when they're going into the ship. It shows them, and there's, it seems like the gravity shifts or something when they're in the ship.
Something.
They're like
I don't know.
walking on the ceiling, it looks like. But it doesn't matter. The point is, I think that they're going to make that really terrifying. I kind of wish they hadn't shown us the hand of the alien. I feel like that was too much.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that part where they're in there and it's like, oh my gosh, this is scary. And she's like, they've got to see me. And she takes off her hazmat suit. And they're like, no. That should have been all we saw on the trailer. That way, when it happened in the movie, we'd be like, ooh, what's going to happen? But they kind of ruined that.
But see, and then like when
me.
that hand comes up, that's a jump scare. That's something that
Yeah,
you might
kind
not
of.
get in a action movie.
Yeah, and so that's unfortunate, though. That's another classic incident of trailers giving away a little too much, especially because we totally could have figured out what the movie was about without that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was unnecessary of them. But
I really like seeing them make the letter though.
Yeah.
Draw the letter on
But
the
I could
screen.
even see
That's
that.
kind of what hooked me.
But see, I could see them showing that without showing the moment where they connect. Like that still would have been an interesting moment for us if we hadn't seen it. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say I could see a lot of people being like, well, it's going to be boring if it's just about a translator trying to learn a language. And this is where I want to go back real fast to Stargate, because James Spader's character in Stargate is the top language specialist. He's been studying all these things. He's been studying ancient Egyptians, and they have this weird Egyptian-like writing. And the first, 30% of that movie is him working with a bunch of, it's funny too, because it's like the dynamic of someone who's a language specialist who is talking about language and it's way over all of the generals' heads, and he's talking to a bunch of soldiers who are just like army men, just soldiers. And it's super funny and interesting, but also it's so, you're like waiting for him to figure it out. And when he makes a connection or he figures something out, you're just like, oh my gosh, it's very exciting. And I think it's interesting to see something that could be seen as boring. Like a lot of us aren't linguistics. We aren't linguistics. We don't know linguistics. What is the?
I come from
lingual-
the colony of Linguania.
Hang on a second. Could
and
you
I'm
tell
a
me
linguist.
what is the name for a language specialist?
I don't
Linguist, right?
know. No, linguist is just like
Well, whatever. Most of us haven't studied that. We don't, I don't think it's a super popular career. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. If you are out there and you know the actual word for that job, and if that is something that you do, please hit us up on Twitter and say, hey, that's me. I do that. 'Cause
hey, I'm a linguist.
I would love to hear that. You're laughing now, but if we find out
I'm sure
afterwards
it
when we
is.
Google it that's it, I'm going to be like, ha!
Linguo
Ha.
is dead.
I think it is linguist. But anyway, I'm just saying it's fun when a movie can take something that nobody knows about, a lot about, and
You mean
seems
alien
kind of-
languages?
No. The idea of somebody studying language and learning
Oh, okay.
language, and it seems kind of boring and sciencey and they have to study and whatever, but they make it interesting and they show how it can be exciting.
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of looks like that she goes a little crazy from it.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where the scary part's going to come in, actually.
Well, she goes a little crazy from it because of how much time she's spending on it and how much pressure she is under.
Well,
it's basically
I mean,
on her
probably.
to save the
I like
world.
how you just know what's happening.
Yeah, well, that's why we started the whole thing.
Yeah, but no, I do think it's kind of interesting in the trailer. At one point, he's like, "Are you dreaming in their language?" And it's like, of course she is. I mean, if you were trying, no, think about it though. I have dreamed in Tetris Attack.
I've dreamed in cartoons before.
Exactly.
Or actually
Well,
for a decent amount of my life.
no, I've played so much Tetris Attack on the Super Nintendo
Uh-huh.
that I literally dreamed in those little cubes that are falling down. Like, and that's just because I was doing it too much. Imagine if you were putting all of your effort into this really important thing and you're trying to learn it. So your brain, think about it. Most of the things you dream about are what you were thinking about before bed, or at least some sort of variation of them.
Or
I'm
for some
sure-
people, the future.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure that no matter what, if you're sitting there like laying down in bed, you're probably going over it in your head. Like, is that what that means? And then of course you're going to dream in that language. I'm just saying. Cause he said it almost like he almost seemed like, are they getting to you? Like, are they talking to you in your dreams? Or it almost
that's
seemed
another
like
thing that I didn't even think of is that maybe they're manipulating her.
Well, didn't he say that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I just
he
thought
said
of it right now.
after he said, "Are you dreaming in their language?" He said, "What if they're using us?" He said something along those lines
Yeah.
of like, "What if they're manipulating us or confusing us?" You know, because just because they're figuring out how to
Man.
communicate, they could easily trick us.
Now I really want to see this movie. Well, let's move on then to where, when, and how you're going to see this movie.
Where? When? How?
Are you going to see this movie?
What is with you today?
All right. Well, for this movie, Arrival, featuring Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, Forrest Whitaker, probably some other people. I bet Jake Gyllenhaal shows his face at some
What?
point. He's in all the other ones. Maybe he's the voice of the alien. I want to see this movie in the theater, and I want to see this movie on the weekend it opens, because I don't think that it'll be a jam-packed theater, but I think it'll be enough people where you can enjoy the atmosphere a little bit without being annoyed. And
Yeah.
you know, people who go see this movie aren't going to be like, woo, you know, when
Yeah.
when Amy Adams shows up.
People who are into sci-fi aren't, especially this kind of sci-fi that's not like the actiony sci-fi, they're not going to go to the theater and the first time an important thing happens, they're not going to be like,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
because that is why we don't go to opening nights.
Yeah, so
usually.
I think it would be a really cool experience to see this movie in the theater opening weekend. Also, I think it's pretty important that you see this movie in the theater the first time you see it.
I think so too, and I also think that it's one of those movies that it would be fun to be one of the first people that you know that's seen it. It would be fun to be like, you haven't seen that yet? Oh,
Dude.
oh, come on.
Dude, though?
Because that's how everybody turns into a bro when they've seen a movie
Yeah.
that's good that you haven't seen.
Yeah, they just
Including
immediately
us.
devolve into that.
What? You haven't seen it?
But-
Oh my gosh.
Dude,
You got to see it. You got to see this. But
you got to see that
anyway,
movie.
I agree. And I think, like you were saying with Interstellar, it's going to look really cool.
Yeah.
When you have that scene where they're upside down on the ceiling and they're just like all the walls are dark and there's this white foggy screen in front of them. That will look so cool when you're in a dark theater. It'll feel like you're there.
Well, and also, this director, Sicario, was so damn good that you have to go see whatever movie he makes next in theater, even if it turns out to be bad, just because of living off of that last movie.
Wow, you are really selling that.
Guys,
To the
amazing.
people out there.
Sicario's great.
You're going to give people high expectations. But no, I agree though. When you see a movie that you love, that you're like, that was wonderful from start to finish, you at least got to give the person a chance. If this one's terrible, then maybe it wasn't the director. Maybe it was just the writing. Who knows?
Yeah, it's
And the
definitely not
acting.
the director, guys.
What?
Definitely won't be the director
What are you talking about?
if it's bad.
Oh,
Remember
no,
the thing
no,
you just said?
no. The thing I just said was maybe the director isn't what made Sicario good is what I was getting at. I was saying, like, if it's terrible, then maybe it'll be because Sicario will have been good because, I mean, I think it's probably good because of writing, directing, and acting. Sicario, yeah, was really
I
good.
don't know.
Now
the,
I'm talking about
the new movie that the writer of Sicario just wrote another movie called Hell or High Water that looks really good. That has Jeff Bridges in it.
Yeah, and that movie, I think, is similar to this, where it's like, you should go see it because you know that writer wrote at least one awesome thing.
Yeah, well, and that was like one of the first movies that he wrote, and right after that, he got signed on for like 4 other movies,
That
all
are
within
coming
the
out,
next
yet to
3
come.
years. And it's just like,
I think
whoa.
that's a very good sign. Yeah, and you know, that Hell or High Water movie, watch a couple trailers, because one of them I was like, that looks not that good.
Yeah.
Then the other one I was like, ooh.
And we might even do an episode on it a little bit.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I mean, so okay. Do we want to guess what the Rotten Tomatoes scores will be?
Yes. Rotten Tomatoes percentages.
All right. Oh, this is tough. I think that sci-fi movies like this, they don't come around that often. Interstellar, when that came out, and then of course the Mars one. What was that? Just Mars? What was
Mars.
that called? Living on Mars with Matt Damon. What's that one called?
Yeah, that's it. Living on Mars with Matt Damon.
No, what's that called though?
Living on Mars
Oh my gosh.
with Matt Damon.
No.
Featuring Matt Damon.
Anyway, you guys all know what I'm saying, I hope.
It's The Martian.
The Martian, thank you. Gosh, dang it. Okay.
Living on Mars with Matt Damon.
I was describing it to you. I knew that's
Yes.
not what it was called.
I thought that was the title.
Okay, sorry guys. Okay. Those movies came out right around the same time, and I remember being like, "Oh wow, so we're getting into sci-fi again, huh?" Because it seemed like it had been a really long time since we'd had a real.
Well, because people are
good
doing it
sci-fi
differently
movie.
now, you know? I mean, the Interstellar is a little different, but The Martian is really different. You know, that's kind of what we're talking about here, where the whole movie is just him figuring stuff out.
Yeah, it was super interesting. But yeah, so I think that the reason we see sci-fis come so slowly is because, in general, the writers of different sci-fi and the people who are wanting to put them together, they know that this is an audience that's patient enough to let a good story unfold.
But I also think that sci-fi writers are kind of similar to horror writers, where they are just like in love with the original sci-fi stuff.
Definitely.
And that kind of leads
Can
to
limit them.
Yeah, it kind of leads to copying and kind of falling into a formula because they love that original
Absolutely.
thing
Like
so
Super
much.
8 is a good example
Super
of that.
8.
Great movie if we hadn't ever seen any other sci-fi movies
And
before.
even
though,
even though Stranger Things is amazing
Oh my
and
God.
everyone should watch it,
How
it just
dare you.
kind of falls into the Steven
How dare you.
Spielberg formula. It
How
does.
dare you? No, actually, I heard that
It's just really good at it.
before I tell you what score the Rotten Tomatoes are, I heard that they actually based the 3 different characters in that movie off of 3 different kinds of writers. One was Stephen King, one was Steven Spielberg, and I can't remember the other. But nonetheless, I thought that was really interesting.
That
They
is
like
cool.
purposefully did that. So like the kid's story was a certain one.
Which one is Steve based off of?
Steve, I think, was the one that was who did all those like Halloween movies, or it was like one of those movies.
R.L. Stein.
Are you for real, or are you
No,
just
he
lying
writes
to me?
Goosebumps.
No, who did it? Was Steve's character, for those of you who have seen Stranger Things, I heard was based off of whoever that guy is that did all of those movies where it was like the like like teenage girls and boys being chased around by murderers.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah, but what is the guy who did all of them? I think it's all the Halloween movies, right? Or is there another
I don't
Scream movies? I don't know. Doesn't matter. But they did that on purpose, and it was basically a love letter to that genre, and I thought it was perfect.
Yeah,
But
it was great.
You're right. It can be easy to fall into that. But I think that like sci-fi books and sci-fi movies, that it takes a certain level of thinking. It's like you said, it's not a movie where you're just going to go and watch action and watch pretty things on screen. It's like you've got to watch people figuring things out and using their brain, and it's for a certain type of audience. And I think that that's why it comes out so seldom, because you can't just crank it out. You can easily crank out any DC movie any day of the week because they put so little effort into that. And sorry, I got a little angry there.
Wow.
But
Get back on track.
action movies too, you can crank those out and make bad ones. But with sci-fi, usually the ones that come out in theater are pretty good because they put a lot of time into it. So I think this one's going to be good. I think it's going to be good in the way that Interstellar was good, and hopefully with a better ending. But so I'm going to give it maybe an 82% by critics, and I'll give it a 77% by audience, because a lot of times, especially movies like this, people are impatient and bored.
88%
Wowzer.
from critics. 79% from audience.
Okay. So, I mean, you had a little bit bigger of a gap between the two scores, but we're similar. We have similar ideas about it.
Yeah. And I'm not super confident, but I know that the actors, the director, has the ability to make a top tier movie. And this one looks good too from the trailer. So
You couldn't ask for, well, you couldn't ask for much better actors than this. Amy Adams is great. She's maybe not the best, but she's great.
Well,
Jeremy Renner is pretty good. I haven't actually seen him in a lot, but he seems pretty good.
Here's
and
the
then
thing about
Forrest
both.
Whitaker, heck yeah.
Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner. I mean, well, less Amy Adams because Amy Adams has been given the opportunity to be in a lot of leading roles and stuff like that, but she hasn't necessarily been given ultra interesting characters, I guess.
That's true.
Say.
A lot of times she does play. Well,
I mean,
think about
she's
her
Lois
in American
Lane.
Hustle, though.
She's in American
I
Hustle.
hated everything about that movie, but that character was interesting.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, and she did a
they were
good job.
interesting, but she was
Annoying,
also
but-
a little one-dimensional.
She was over the top. Her character was over the top, which is it's easier to act like an over the top
Right.
person than
And Jeremy Renner, I
subtle.
believe, won awards for Hurt Locker, which we haven't seen yet, by the way.
Yeah, we need to get on that.
But he is good, but he's also, usually
He's
not
kind
the
of just
main
the-
lead, the second
Exactly. He's
the
just kind of a guy that's
ensemble player.
part of it. Yeah, he's part of the team, which is fine. I think that's what he'll be in this one too.
Well, yeah, but I think it's nice that those are the two big names in this movie.
Yeah. How about Forrest Whitaker though? Choosing to be in sci-fi. He's in Rogue One also,
Uh-huh.
and he looks awesome in Rogue One.
Yeah, they got him all like done up like
He
a
looks
comic
super
book
cool.
character. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not like a Star Wars character. He looks like some interesting, intriguing, like I don't know, maybe not a Jedi, but like some sort of monk or something. Like it looks like he's some sort
Space
of.
monk.
I think that he's supposed to be religious in that. Because
Well, but
you know
the
how
religion is the Force.
Yeah, but that's what I was gonna say. You know how in the original Star Wars movies, Obi-Wan Kenobi or Old Ben tells Luke about the Force, and Luke says, "I thought that was just some old religion that wasn't real." And he's like, "No, it is real. It's all around you." It was more religious in the original movies, and then in the old ones, they were like, "We got to make this more scientific," because for whatever reason, they thought they could explain the Force, and it was not good. But nonetheless, I think that they're trying to go back to that in this, and that Whitaker's character will be like this kind of super religious person who's like, "You've got to believe in the Force," We'll see.
Well, we certainly don't have time to discuss the entirety of the Star Wars universe right now.
Fine, another time.
Another time. We'll do
But
that
anyway,
another time.
all right. Well, I think we can both say that this is probably going to be a fun movie.
Yeah.
Fun, interesting,
I think it's going to be great.
and original.
Personally.
And do you know, is
However-
is it based off of anything else?
I don't know. Oh, wait, yes, I do. I saw. I saw when I was looking up the writer, there was another credit that said short story by.
Oh,
So-
interesting.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to me when you can take a short story and make a whole movie out of it. That it's kind of nerve-wracking though. It's probably hard to
little bit,
do,
yeah.
hard to stretch, but I'm sure they can do it.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. So you want to plug us?
Yeah.
Give us some plugs.
If you would like to hear more of this, not it, but this,
Of us.
of us and what we do, you go to mttpodcast.com.
Yes.
That's the place to be. Got a bunch of stuff up there.
And if you are a linguist, please tweet at us on Twitter at MTT Podcast.
Absolutely. And
We want to hear from you.
Also, we'll be up on YouTube on the Entertainment Buffet channel. Go ahead, look around there. Subscribe to their channel and all of their various podcasts that they own the rights to.
Yeah, they've got a lot of stuff. So just check out Entertainment Buffet. You can check them out on Facebook too if you would like to see what they do.
Absolutely. They're probably on Twitter also. How many different types of social media do you think they're on?
I think that I saw that maybe they're on Instagram.
There you go. Maybe on Instagram.
So there you go.
That
There
was
you
the
have
most
it.
decisive answer I've ever heard in my life.
There you have it. Check them out. Check us out. And
Yes.
check us out next time because we will be releasing another one next week.
Oh, movie trailer trash.
Adios.